Thank you, Tim, for that very informative and wonderful speech. I greatly appreciated that. Let's take a minute and give Tim some feedback through the chat or through emailing him. Okay, let's move on to our next speaker. But before I do, Tim, I've always wanted to hear you speak more about photography because it's so mysterious to me. So I greatly appreciate your speech and the professionalism with which you gave it, and also the topic because I really very, very interesting. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mr. John Rotke. This morning, John will conduct a 5 to 7 minute workshop on how to give an effective evaluation. This crucial element of our Toastmaster meeting has some huge implications in our everyday lives. Please help me welcome John Rotke, distinguished Toastmaster, with the speech Judgment Call. Judgment Call, distinguished Toastmaster, John Rotke.
Hot take. A friend walks up to you and goes, "Hey, do I look good in this?" That's a very subjective question. That's something that really depends on a lot of factors. And if somebody is very, very, very self-conscious, that can make or break the relationship. Whoa. There's a lot riding on our ability to evaluate and then give feedback to people. Toastmasters gives you this opportunity to practice it in a zero stakes environment where you go and you can give a bad evaluation and it's not going to hurt somebody. I mean, words do hurt. Sticks and stones break your bones. Words will never hurt me is very much a lie. I think words can hurt a lot more than most sticks or stones unless you're being fully stoned and ancient times type stuff. Okay. The idea behind an evaluation is we are trying to give somebody feedback, hopefully in a positive manner, so that they are able to improve what they're doing. Now, whether it's helping somebody dress or it's helping somebody deliver an address, you're trying to figure out ways to help them become better at presenting what they want to present. So in Toastmasters, we get the chance to evaluate, and we have 2 to 3 minutes to deliver a very concise evaluation of somebody's speech. Usually they're delivering 5 to 7 minutes. So you don't have a good ratio there of time. You can't re-give the speech, or you can, but it's not as effective as it could be. As a listener, you do not have the subject matter background that the speaker does. You have your own life's subjective background. What you're trying to do is figure out how you can help them communicate with more people. That's the basis of it. And in doing so, if you know the speaker, you know their competence when it comes to an audience, their confidence as a presenter, their confidence in the subject. But sometimes you don't know. You've never met this person before. All you have to work on is those 5 to 7 minutes that they've given you. So with that, the idea is, okay, how can you be as kind and supportive of this person as possible within 2 to 3 minutes? Now you do this by looking at how they're presenting themselves, how they're presenting the topic, and how they're connecting with the audience. If somebody is reading off a paper and it's in front of them, it's very hard to understand what they're saying. Were you able to, anybody totally clear on what I just said a second ago? Not really. If you have a barrier between you and the audience, it hurts your speech. If you're making eye contact with the audience and you only look at one person the whole time, that hurts your speech. If you can find ways to involve the audience so that they are incorporated into the story and they are living it with you and through you, then you have them engaged. And so as you're an evaluator, you can encourage the presenter to do that and find ways to do so. If we're talking about photography, like Tim just did, challenge people to go take a picture and then see the results in comparison to what Tim did. Those types of little changes, those calls to action can get the audience involved. Now, as an evaluator, you're encouraging the speaker to be the best self, to be their best self, to give the best amount of information. So if they're throwing in a bunch of jargon, stuff that doesn't make sense to somebody who hasn't touched that subject before, if they're speaking extremely too fast and going in there and really excited, that's going to hurt the speech. If they're going really slow, then they can be impersonating Captain Kirk, or they can be going and boring the audience, depends. So figuring out what works for the speaker is kind of your role as an evaluator. You're trying to give them feedback so that they can be most effective. Now, it's not going to be perfect, and it is your take on it. A lot of people think they need to be a perfect evaluator and have John Davies level experience evaluating to be able to give a good evaluation. You can give an evaluation after your first meeting because you do this all the time. Every single day, you are evaluating your situation. You are evaluating circumstances. You are evaluating what you're going to order off a menu. Those are all internal evaluations. You're trying to figure out what you're hungry for and what's going to satiate you. So it's serendipitous that we get the chance to go into Toastmasters and practice this, to go and have fun being able to deliver some good feedback to our fellow Toastmasters, to our friends, in a way that can help boost them up. You can take this into management. If you are managing people and employees, finding ways to give them constructive feedback. Be like, this is something that you can work on, and this is how you can work on it. And that how is, I think, the most important part. Because if you just tell somebody their flaws, you're going to crush them. Even if they're the most self-contained and confident person, if you only throw criticism at them, it's going to hurt them. But if you give them criticism with a how to potentially change it, that's given them the opportunity to grow. And that little bit of shift, that takes some care and that takes some heart. That's what an evaluator does, a good evaluator does. So with it, you can give them these tools to use. It doesn't mean they're going to use them. And that's something as an evaluator you need to be ready for, because it is up to them to change what they want to do. Your only power is the ability to share what you know. It's up to them to make the next step or make different steps. And that's okay. The idea in this meeting is we're supposed to be learning and growing with every single experience. Now, I hope that if somebody comes into our meeting, they're seeing people give evaluations that are helping boost the speaker, helping not just be fluff pieces and being like, hey, this is really, really nice. You're awesome. That doesn't help the speaker. Instead, be like, hey, I really liked these things, and that's great. But this thing I was a little confused about. What have you explained it differently? There's something that's distracting me a little bit going on. Your cat jumped in front of the camera, and we couldn't quite see what you were speaking about. Those types of little things can help people be better presenters. Perfect example. Thanks, Chuck. And you're familiar with that. So the idea that there's always something to improve upon, and that you can deliver feedback in a way so that the person you're giving the feedback to isn't hurt internally. Instead, they are uplifted internally. That's the goal of evaluation. And that's what we're shooting for. And you get there by giving lots of evaluations. So I encourage all of you to be giving evaluations, and don't give the fluff ones. Don't just say, oh, you're a great speaker, you can't improve, because we can always improve. And if you can't find a way to do that, for them to improve, that's a chance for you to use your imagination and kind of get a little creative with it. So overall, I encourage you, give evaluations, give feedback, practice for everyday life, Because unless you are the suavest and sagest and most uplifting individual on the planet, there's room for improvement, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, John. There's nothing more important, I think, in Toastmasters than knowing how to give an effective evaluation. And John, that was a very, very important speech to enlighten us about how to be more effective in our evaluations. Thank you so much.